Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 4, and we are going to be looking at the mental health of Type 4. So you know that's going to be good. Now, I'm going to point to a good friend of mine, Tyler Zock, over at the Gospel for Enneagram. He posted on Instagram, mental health of every type. And so this is coming from his Instagram post. He's a friend of mine. I reached out to him. I said, hey Tyler, this stuff is really good. Do you care if I make some YouTube videos about these? And he said, go for it. So I'll put a link in the description below to his Instagram post. Go check him out and make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and all that to his information. Just a reminder, in the description below is a link to my website, tomlahue.com, where you can book Enneagram coaching appointments or coaching plans for you or for your relationship. You know, the Enneagram is so helpful in helping us get over the target of what's going on, what's wrong, and be able to relate to ourselves and others with more compassion. So if I can help you out, also I'm always doing courses live on Zoom, and I've got a lot of courses that are already on demand and ready when you are. So check out my website for all that information, and thanks to my patrons, I really appreciate your support as well. I'm going to be looking at Tyler's Instagram post while I'm making this video. So this is just, let's read what he says, let's talk about it, and it's really good, okay? So first thing he says about fours on the mental health is he puts down mood swings, okay? So mood swings, and there's about, what, 7 or 8 of these, okay? Different challenges that fours can have in terms of mental health. And so number one is mood swings. And if you're a 4, you know what we're talking about here is that kind of like you can get really high highs, really low lows, and sometimes the people interacting with you or relating to you have a hard time keeping up with all of that, energy, or keeping up or dealing with or making space for all of that, you know, big emotional stuff. You know, realize some of us, like, we don't want to deal with negative emotions, and I realize we have work to do, and you can help us. One of the best titles for the 4, you know, the individualist, the dramatist, the romantic, one of the best titles is the healer. The healer, because 4s, you know, you're willing to go to some of those dark places that maybe the rest of us or others don't want to go to, and you might be able to help us work through some of that hard stuff, but sometimes you might find yourself getting overwhelmed in your own emotional mood swings, okay? So this is the comment that he has in the post. Intense emotions and mood swings are a regular part of my experience, which can cause me to sulk, okay, other words, pout, lament, lash out, or fall into anxiety or depression. And I think depression would probably what it probably looks like to the rest of us, and maybe what it feels like to you. So there's number 1, mood swings. Okay, let's see what he has for number 2 here. Number 2 is feeling misunderstood. And I've done a lot of appointments with 4s. I think I understand, you know, what this is about. I'm not always got it perfect, I'm sure, but feeling misunderstood and different from others can create a sense of isolation and cause me to retreat or not to be fully present. I think of this kind of scenario, like imagine, you know, going to school and not getting along with people like you would like to, or other people talking trash about you or whatever, feeling like you're not a part of the group. And then you come home to your parents and you say things like, yeah, I don't really know about this. I don't really know about this new school. I wasn't really feeling, you know, accepted or like I was a part of the group. And, you know, imagine saying that to your parents, and then your parents saying to you, well, you know what your problem is you need to focus on the positive. You know, mom and dad are spending good money to put you in this school, and you need to, what did you do? Did you make friends with anybody? Did you reach out to other people? Did you make an effort to talk to those people? And that is, you know, going to make you feel very misunderstood. And I always tell parents, you know, be careful about preaching to 4s or trying to control 4s. What you really want to do is try to understand and validate the 4 and say, oh man, that's got to be terrible. How did that make you feel? And then maybe start steering towards solutions. But first, really try to understand what this person is telling you, how they're feeling, and what it must feel like, and try to put yourself in their shoes if possible. Do that first, and then maybe ask questions like, well, is there anything you can do, or what did you try to do? But this just preaching a sermon at a 4 is probably not going to go well, and probably going to make the 4 feel very misunderstood, not cared about, and like this, and might initiate some of those mood swings. All right, so feeling misunderstood. Next, fearing abandonment. Fearing abandonment. This is what he says in the post. Longing for deep emotional connection while fearing abandonment can cause inner turmoil. Now listen to that. Let me tell you what I heard is, on the inside, I really want to be connected to other people. I really want to fit in. I really want to belong. I really want to, like everybody else, be loved, be cared about, be understood, and have a sense of closeness with other people. But there is this underlying fear that if I get too close to them, what if they reject me, or what if they turn against me or turn away from me? What if I don't measure up, or what if I'm too much for them? Or what if they're just jackasses and I find out I don't really want this relationship? And so you might find yourself as let me say it this way, because I'm not a 4. You might experience it when you're in a relationship with a 4 as though this 4 is testing you and you're not sure why they're testing you. Telling you maybe some deep, dark things about themselves, and you're thinking, why are you telling me this? Like, this is the second time we've gotten out for dinner, and I thought we were just having a casual lunch. Like, I thought we were just going to talk about the Mets and the Yankees, and, and you're telling me this deep, dark, odd thing about yourself. And I think the 4 is trying to connect. I think they're trying to connect with you and to sort of test the waters. Are you the kind of friend that can handle my stuff? Are you the kind of friend that can go to that deeper level with me? Because if you're not, then let's just end this right now. If you're not, then let's just be done with this right now. And notice behind that, or beneath that, is what he's talking about, this fear of abandonment. Like, if I were to open up myself to you and I were to make myself vulnerable and let you into my basement, I'm thinking like the 4. If I were to let you into my basement and let you, and you were to see me with all of my flaws, you would probably reject me. You would probably turn away from me. I would be too much for you. And so I'm going to show you a little bit and test you and see if that's the case. And of course, just realize, like, from everyone else's perspective in a relationship with you, like, we don't understand what's going on. I thought we were just meeting for coffee. I thought we were just talking about life. Why are we moving to tragedies? And why are we moving to painful stuff? And why are we... and I'm not saying change. I'm just saying understand that may be going on. The people around you might want to be your friends. They might really want to be in a relationship with you, but they don't understand what's going on. Maybe you don't understand what's going on all the time. I mean, that's possible, right? I mean, we do a lot of things that maybe we don't always fully understand what we're doing, or how it's going to affect a relationship. Because at the heart of this, what you really want is connection, love, acceptance, community, all the things all of us want. It's just that strategy may not always move you toward what you want. Okay, I think it's number 4, self-doubt. Self-doubt. Ugh, feel the sting of that. Self-doubt, self-pity, low self-esteem, or low self-worth. I mean, you guys are on the worth and value type, right, of the Enneagram on that side. So they often plague me, hindering my own self-acceptance. And let's just pause there for a second. Do you love yourself? I hope you do. Do you love yourself? Do you see any of the good about you? Or do you just see you just see where you don't measure up? Do you just see how you're not perfect, or how you don't, you just see the things about yourself you don't like, the things about your personality, or about your body, or about, your family, or where you live in the world. 4s, 1s, and 7s, we can be sometimes very critical. All 3 of us, we are the types that tend to get disappointed with the way things are. And, you could easily look in the mirror and look at yourself and not like what you see and think, I need to change it in some way. I need to express my individuality, which is great. I'm an individualist. I'm an ENFP, right? So I get that whole individualism and authenticity thing. It's just, remember, you got to balance that with, I want to be connected. And if you want to be connected with other people, go ahead and express your individuality and express your uniqueness. Just recognize that there's also a value in you know, getting along with other people and going along with other people. And I know you know this. I know you already know this. Okay, so let me stop preaching at you. Self-doubt. Self-doubt, self-pity, low self-esteem. I know this seems like a strange thing with 4s, is they tend to be able to look at broken stuff or broken people, and they tend to be able to see what could be. They tend to be able to see the beauty in the brokenness, but then when they turn the lens on themselves, it's like they don't see the beauty in the brokenness. It's like you just see the brokenness. And so this thing that you're able to do for others, it's hard for you to do for yourself sometimes. And this is true for all of us. I mean, we all in our own ways, like 9s, for example, they make space for everybody else, but they don't feel like they're allowed to take up any space. And, you know, with 4s, it's kind of like you see the beauty in other people and in their broken situations, but then you turn back and look at yourself and you just see your flaws. Okay, if you know you do that, then maybe you can minimize the power that has over you by saying, oh, there I am again. I'm such a 4. I'm only noticing the negative stuff about myself that I don't like. And you know what? I'm a great person and people like me, and I have a right. I have a right to be happy. I have a right to have good relationships. I have a right to show up fully in my life. And yeah, I've got things about me that aren't perfect, but so does everybody else. Okay, maybe I'm helping, maybe I'm not helping, because like I said, you know, one of the problems is understanding, and maybe I don't understand as well as I think I do. So there's self-doubt. Let's go on to number 5, dwelling on the past. Dwelling on the past. You know, sort of that's going to make you melancholy. It just is. It's, even if the past was great, even if you look back on the past and it was wonderful, or a past relationship, you can't go back to the past. You can't return back to the past. And so even if your memories are wonderful and you treasure them, notice how it's going to always bring a certain sadness or melancholy because you can't return to the past. And certainly there's a lot of negative in the past. There's a lot of pain, a lot of problems, and a lot of, you know, difficulties and times you didn't do the right thing or fit in like you wanted to. So there's certainly lots of negative in the past. And as a 7, you know, I'm wired for the future. I get it. I'm wired for the future, and that has its own strengths and weaknesses. So I'm sure that I already have like a tendency to not look in the past. One of the saddest things I can do is open a photo album and watch my kids grow up. Ugh, you know, I love my kids and I love the past, but when I go back to it, it certainly initiates lots of sad feelings, which I have to make myself be okay with sometimes. All right, so dwelling on the past tends to consume my thoughts, replaying past mistakes and relational experiences, which can contribute to the feelings of shame or unrelatability. I was talking to a 4 the other day, and they were like, oh, I hated it. It's so frustrating because I remember everything. And I'm like, man, as a 7, I don't. I just don't. Like, my brain, I think, offloads negative stuff so that it just disappears. People will say to me, do you remember when this person said this to you, or when this person did this terrible thing? And I'm like, kind of. You know, it's like, I guess I'm probably wired toward forgiveness because I just don't want that stuff to be there. And so kind of my memory sort of like just deletes, erases, and removes. And it's just kind of like I have a 60-day clearing, and it just, you know, like on my settings that just clear the old cache, what is it called, cache or cache or whatever out. It just, and that's not always a good thing. I mean, I recognize that's not always a good thing. And I wonder, are you guys like the opposite of that? Like, do you tend to focus on those hurtful things in the past someone said to you, or someone, I've got a few of those things, but mostly it just gets deleted. And I'm not trying to, it's just kind of like, I think, how I'm wired. I wonder if you're a 7 and you're watching this, are you like that? Are any of you other types like that? Maybe there's some 9s out there that just kind of want to delete stuff too and not deal with it. But this isn't about me, this is about you guys as 4s dwelling on the past. Okay, let me just pause right here and say, what advantages does this bring you? strategically thinking, like lean into that 3 wing, and 3s are always concerned about strategy and accomplishing things. And just ask yourself, like, does this tendency, what does it do for me? How does it help my life? Because I'm sure it does in some ways. Like maybe you realize like, oh, I need to be more protective, or I need to, recognize negative people easier because of, or quicker because of what I've learned the hard way. So I'm sure it has its positives, but ask yourself, like, what negatives, what does this cost me to sort of get stuck in the past, or to dwell in the past, or to focus on the negatives of the past, or the painful stuff of the past? In what ways does this make it more challenging for me? Because I'm sure in some ways it does. And that would be interesting for, maybe an interesting video in and of itself, or interesting discussion with a 4. So if you put some comments down in the comments section, help us understand. If I'm not understanding and Tyler's not understanding what's going on, help us understand. Put some good comments down so that the rest of us can peek inside that operating system of yours and understand you a little bit better. So dwelling on the past. So let's review. What have we got here so far? Let's go back and look at these. All right, number 1 was mood swings. And I think if you're in a relationship with a 4, like, create some tolerance for this. Now, obviously, everybody needs to work on themselves and improve themselves. But if you're in a relationship with a 4, don't panic when they have their dramatic moments. Don't react. When a 4 gets upset, says something sharp, leaves the room, slams the door, the world doesn't need to stop. You don't need to chase them into the room and scold them, and you are not going to act like that. You were raised in a loving family. We don't treat each other that way. Just make a little bit of space, because this is part of being a 4. Like the dramatic exit is kind of part of it sometimes. So the rest of us could try to relax a little bit and recognize, oh, there isn't a huge problem here. It's just a 4, and this 4 has, some pretty powerful moods that they feel. And the rest of us might need to pay more attention to our moods. So mood swings, number 1, feeling misunderstood. So when somebody's feeling misunderstood, we want to lean in and try to understand. Help me understand what's going on. What try to understand. Fear of abandonment. Okay, next is self-doubt, dwelling on the past, and then the next one, this one's hard. It is, we all do it sometimes, but okay, absorbing criticism. How do you deal with criticism? What do you feel when people criticize you? And it could be small stuff like, maybe like, oh wow, do you think those pants really match with that outfit? It could be something really small like that. I remember a friend of mine he's either a 5 or an 8. I'm not really sure. I haven't spent a lot of time with him in a long time, but I remember him telling me about his daughter who's a 4. And he said she came down, he had 2 boys and a girl. She came downstairs and sat at the table, and she was wearing a tank top. And he just looked up and he looked at her, and he just had an interesting look on his face. Like he was just trying to figure out, like, he was thinking like, is that the right outfit for where we're going? And he was just looking at her like puzzled. And she immediately, what? Why are you looking at me like this? And then just almost started to cry. Absorbing criticisms. All right. By absorbing the criticisms and judgments and negative messages from others. I mean, we could just stop there. Just think of what a toll this is going to take on you. Anybody. None of us like to be criticized. I don't like to be criticized. But at times, I guess we all need to pay attention to the criticisms and responses of others, and then filter out the good and the helpful from the mean and nasty. But how do you respond when people criticize you? Do you immediately like dogpile on yourself and like tear yourself up and destroy yourself and belittle yourself, put yourself down? Or do you become angry and reactive, bitter and responsive? How do you respond when people criticize you? I can develop a distorted self-image and feel a profound sense of inadequacy or unworthiness. And I can see where that could move you toward gloom and doom and like isolating yourself. I can see where that could move you to like, well, then I'm going to prove that I'm not what they've said about me, and I'm going to prove that the other person is worse than me. And I can see where that's not necessarily going to be a healthy response to this either. So let's ask this question. What can I do now that I know that I tend to absorb criticisms a little too personally? Well, when you start to feel that happening, maybe you could tell yourself, oh, wow, that's right, I'm a 4. I know part of my personality is I over-focus on the criticisms that other people say about me. In fact, I criticize myself even when no one's criticizing me. Like if somebody's succeeding and somebody's doing well, do you tend to think then poorly about yourself? I remember working with a 4 in the past, and a substitute came in and, you know, took this person's spot with the kids class. And, you know, the 4 came out and was just, you could just tell, was like distraught and gloomy. Why? Because the other person was doing such a good job and the kids were responding so positively to this other person that they started to immediately feel like, well, I'm inadequate. I'm not measuring up. I'm not as good with the kids. They don't respond to me as well. And so rather than being happy and celebrating that, hey, this is working, this other person's doing a great job, encouraging them. I'm sure that she wanted to do all those things, but just overwhelmed with this self-criticism. Yeah, I'm sure that can be really challenging at times. Okay, next, I'm too much. I'm too much. Is that the message that you get from the rest of us, from your family, from your boyfriend, girlfriend? I constantly fear overwhelming others with my raw and authentic experiences. Or your tragedies or your disasters or your deep, heavy stuff that lives in your basement, you know. I feel the pressure to try and calm myself before sharing with friends so that I'm not rejected. And I think this could be a little bit of what we mean when we say 4s under stress look a little bit like 2s. They're being more cautious, careful, trying to be more flattery, more friendly, more warm. And when you see a 4, you know, being kind and sweet and thoughtful, it doesn't mean that something bad is happening. No, that's good. That's good. I mean, be kind, be loving. Listen to the warning of the 2. Like 2s are warning 4s. The number we disintegrate to often warns us, and 2s are saying, you know, you ought to be nice. And if you're not nice, you're going to end up having to play nice. And so when you see a 4 being overly attentive and overly friendly and outgoing and warm and flattering and those kinds of things, it's just a sign that, oh, this 4 is feeling this stress, maybe of that if I were just myself and I could truly open up and say what I want to say, it would be too much for people. They would misunderstand. And okay, so I'm too much. Push people away. Next, push people away. Feeling lonely and unlovable can hinder my social interactions, causing me to push people away even though I yearn for connection. Pushing people away. Again, now, this push-pull strategy, you maybe have never thought of it as a strategy. You may just think, I don't know, I'm just being me. I don't know, something clicks within me. Realize we all have impulses and compulsions. And those impulses and compulsions that are tied into our personality, they sometimes work for us, but a lot of times they don't work for us. And learning to catch when it's not working or moving you toward what you really want is what maturity is all about. It's what balance is all about. And so recognizing that sometimes pushing people away can be a useful thing, like if people are jerks or you need better boundaries with them. But if you are wanting close connection with someone, they're probably not going to understand when you get scared or panicky or feel like you're losing yourself or whatever, and then you push them away, or you say something harsh to them, or you withdraw yourself from them, or you just don't respond to texts, or you just go dark on them. Most people are not going to understand what's going on. And maybe you don't understand what's going on. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But the person in relationship with you is going to have a lot of patience, and realize a lot of people don't have patience. And they're not going to understand that, oh, it's because you love me so much that you're pulling away from me. That's not going to make sense to most people. And so you want to catch this dynamic and ask yourself, this strategy that I'm employing, is it going to move me toward what I really want? I want to have a loving, caring relationship with this person. Is pushing them away from me, is that going to move me toward what I really want? If it's yes, then okay, then use that strategy. Just realize that a lot of times that's probably no, that's not going to really lead to what you want. But that fear of being rejected can be so great that it's kind of like, I've got to reject them first, or I kind of got to push them back or test them first. But remember what you really want. Like, don't lose sight of what you really want. And let that drive and determine your behaviors as well. Okay, so feeling lonely and unlovable. Come on, you're lovable. You need to believe that about yourself. You are lovable. Hinder my social interactions, causing me to push people away despite my yearning for connection. You know, I remember when I didn't know about the Enneagram, I just knew about Myers-Briggs. And I remember this guy coming over to our house that was a friend of somebody. And he was 100% a 4, a social 4. I didn't know that because I didn't know the Enneagram. I just knew that he told me he was an ENFP. Well, I'm an ENFP. And a lot of 4s are INFPs, I think. But he was an ENFP. And so we started talking about what it means to be an ENFP. And I just remember thinking, like, yeah, we're both ENFPs, I get that. But there's something different, like very different about this guy than about me. Like, he's not happy. He's not smiling. He's not full of joy. He's sad and gloomy and depressed, and like I can't seem to like bring him out of that, which is not my responsibility to bring him out of that. I get that, but at the time I felt like, what's wrong with me? You know, like the more I talk to him, the more gloomy he gets. So I don't think he's trying to push me away, but I definitely got the feeling like I'm pushed away. Okay. All right. Next, I think this is the last one. Avoiding the ordinary. Oh, the ordinary, the mundane, the tedious. Well, not tedious so much. That's us as 7s. But avoiding the ordinary. I tend to avoid the mundane and routine tasks. Opting for aesthetically, that means beautiful, pleasing activities instead. Procrastination and forgetting stress-inducing responsibilities are common patterns for me. So how do you feel about that 9-to-5 job, you know, selling Pepsi for the man? How do you feel about talking about the weather? How do you feel about talking about sports? How do you feel about talking about, you know, blockbuster movies, or pop music, the mundane, the ordinary? And I get it. You're different, you know you're different, and so you tend to try to figure out, like, what is it that makes you different? What do you like that's different? What do you like that sets you apart, that differentiates you? And that's cool. That's cool. I mean, maybe you got some cool tattoos that nobody understands unless you explain it to them what that is, probably. Or some kind of verse reference or something, you know, that nobody knows. And that sets you apart and makes you different. And I'm all for that. I'm an individualist too. I get it. But I just want to just challenge you a little bit on this. And that is, a lot of the popular mundane things in life are popular because they're great. They really are. I mean, chicken salad is wonderful. It's very popular, and it doesn't make you, you know, a robot, a cog in the wheel, in the system, you know, if you like Mexican food, or you like, you know, Taylor Swift, or whatever is very popular that everybody else, you know, likes. It's okay to like what you like and be unique and special, but it's also, I just want to give you permission to like what's popular. It's okay. It's okay to drive a Honda or Toyota. It's okay to like The Walking Dead and, whatever normal shows that everybody likes. It's okay. And a lot of stuff that is normal or popular is very good. So avoiding the ordinary. And just ask yourself this one simple question. Like, if you were going to actually marry somebody, I don't know that you would look for the most individualistic person to marry, because you're already that individualistic person. I find it amazing that a lot of times 4s end up with married to 5s or married to 9s. You could marry anybody you want, or you could be in a relationship with anybody you want, but I find it interesting. The most interesting person on the Enneagram, the 4, often ends up with the most normal or calm or plain person on the Enneagram, the 9. In other words, you yourself, although you value things that are not normal and beige and plain or tan, you often end up in very healthy relationships with someone who is beige, ordinary, plain, or tan. You know what I mean? You tend to end up well with the normal person. Because think, if both of you are so interesting and so unusual, it's kind of like you have 2 actors on a stage and no audience. And so you may find that you do really well in a place where you can sort of be the different one, and then the other people around you, can sort of be the normal ones. All right. Okay. So let's look at these again. Let's review these and just kind of remind ourselves. All right. Type 4, mood swings. Feeling misunderstood, fear of abandonment, self-doubt, dwelling on the past, absorbing criticisms, I'm too much, the feeling that I'm too much, and pushing people away, and then your tendency to avoid the ordinary. Okay, guys, I hope this is helpful. I think it's interesting. Again, check out Tyler's Instagram page. Also, I've been trying to do a lot of work on my own Instagram page and my Facebook page. I haven't really spent a lot of time or effort on those, and so I've decided, okay, I gotta step up my game, and there's more than YouTube. I gotta try to build Instagram and Facebook and all that as well, and Twitter and LinkedIn. It never ends. There's just so much stuff out there. All right, guys, I'm here for you any way I can help you. Wish you the best, and thank you for being you, and as always, be present to life. Don't miss what's right in front of you, because it's not all that it could be or all that you hoped it would be. Be present to life. I'll see you next time.